From the 22 News Plus studio, this is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of In Focus. We are here in the 22 News Plus studio. Across the desk from me today is Dr. Rebecca Spencer. She is a professor of psychological and brain sciences at UMass Amherst. And today we're talking about dreams. Dr. Spencer, I can tell you I never dream. Or I shouldn't say never. I rarely dream. Is that normal?
I hope so, because I'm with you on that one.
Oh, really?
I don't dream very often, but I'm guessing that I'm like you in the sense of I'm a morning person. I don't need an alarm to like rip me out of sleep. I generally am starting to wake up when it's time to get up. And so there's things that make us dream more often. And so it's okay if we're just not in that position.
But there are I know people, coworkers here, that they have such vivid dreams every single night. And I'm thinking, I got none of that.
Yeah, and I get a little jealous sometimes too. Yeah, but it's okay because, again, there's different things that can make you dream more. So one of the things that can make you dream more is if you are really awoken by an alarm and you're in deeper sleep, that's a time when you're probably being woken up during a dream. And then our dreams will disappear if we wait too long before we recall them. So if a person like that is woken up by an alarm and that dream is fresh in their head, they're going to be more likely to take that memory and move it into short-term than long-term memory. So we probably are dreaming, you and I, but it's just we're not putting it into memory, actively recalling it and saving it for later.
So during some of your patient volunteer studies, do you, aside from tracking how people sleep, are you able to determine brain activity that somebody is dreaming? We
could guess that they're dreaming just based on different parts of sleep or different activity in the brain that's associated with dreaming. This gets really interesting, though, in terms of how are we even going to define a dream? Does it have to be visual? There's some people, particularly if you're blind.
Is that the whole concept of a dream?
Yes, exactly. And so do we even call that a dream if your dream is really just composed of odors or sounds? But so let's call it a storyline that's typically visual, but does it have to be weird to be a dream? Or can I just wake up in the middle of the night and think about our conversation here?
Right.
Is that a dream or is it not weird enough to be a dream? So we think of dreams are happening early in the night when we're in what's called slow wave sleep. Those dreams tend to be not as interesting. It might just be like you and I sitting here, not to say that that's not interesting, but they're these literal, is it a dream or am I just recalling my day?
Right.
Versus it tends to be the dreams that are occurring later in the night where most people get to be a little bit more whimsical or strange or scary. So there are dreams that are occurring throughout, but it just depends upon when we're woken up.
Is dreaming good for us, or is there really not enough research to prove whether it's good or bad?
There's quite a few theories of dreaming that all basically say it's good or it's useless. So one theory is that it's just a side effect of memory processing. And so when I'm putting my memories away from today, I'm deciding, do I put it in this file drawer or this file drawer? And in doing that, if you woke me up, well, there's a bunch of weird stuff that's activated and that becomes the dream. But other theories are that it's good for us. So one idea is called the threat simulation theory. And the idea is that what we're doing in our dream is practicing for real life. So when I first heard this theory, I was like, well, there's no way my brain is practicing, making me practice
self-defense or whatever.
Yeah, I don't need to practice running from a tiger in downtown Amherst, right? That's what am I learning from that? But then I had a dream that convinced me of this, and that was that my girls were really young, and I had a dream that one of them had fallen in a pool. Well, I woke up, and I'll tell you, I registered them for swim lessons. So it is possible that we have something that occurs in our dream that we are learning from. Now, whether that is the intent evolutionarily of our dreams or not, or if that also is just kind of a healthy side effect is a little harder to say.
And those people out there that do dream interpretation, there's no way to know, is there?
There's not really. And it's the closest that we can get is there's really cool brain imaging that's being done now in some labs where you can put them in an MRI and watch what their brain is doing while they're sleeping. And if I have, while they're awake, shown them a bunch of pictures, I now can basically map any pattern that I see their brains doing onto what they might be thinking about. So that does give us a way scientifically to kind of read people's dreams, which is a little bit out there, but it's now a legitimate science. And that's now where I think dream science can start evolving, is because we have some real objective ways to measure dreams now.
So I didn't realize that dream science was out there. Is part of that research maybe what we're exposed to within an hour or two of falling asleep, how that may affect our brains or our dreams rather?
Yeah, so certainly like what we're doing right as we're falling asleep is going to be most likely to be incorporated into our dreams.
Okay.
There's something called a hypnagogic state that is really cool and a lot of us have experienced. And what it is like as you're drifting off to sleep, your body's slowly losing muscle tone. You might jerk yourself awake and you're like, I had a dream that I was falling. That dream that you're falling is a unique kind of dream that happens early in the night, and it has to do with your body is losing muscle tone and your brain's trying to make sense of that. And so it interprets that as a feeling of falling. And those kind of dreams happen more commonly when we're sleeping in a strange place. So I always think of it as like, if I fall asleep in a lawn chair at the beach, I'm more likely to have that kind of, exactly.
Interesting. Wow. We've only touched the tip of the iceberg on dreaming. We're up on our first commercial break. We'll be right back after this.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Welcome back, everyone, to this edition of InFocus. Dr. Rebecca Spencer is across the desk from me today. We're talking about dreams. I had mentioned earlier that generally I do not dream. Periodically I might have a dream that I remember in the morning. But what I have thought is that everybody dreams every night. It's just, do you have the ability to recall things in the morning? So, but one of the things I have more often than not, and I believe it's called like sleep paralysis or something of that nature, where I feel like I'm awake, but I know that I'm dreaming, if that's a good description, and it usually centers around something tragic. I'm lying in bed and someone's broken into the house is on fire, something is scary, for lack of a better description, is happening, but I'm paralyzed. I can't move. I can't say anything. Is that normal, or did I just self-diagnose something bad?
Unfortunately, it happens a lot. And my memory is it's something like 30% of adults experience this at some point. And there's different things that can set you up to experience it more often. Sometimes it's about sleep positions. If you sleep on your back, you're a little more apt to get this.
Okay.
But the idea is that what's happening at the brain level is your brain is trying to switch from being in REM sleep into being awake. And when we're in REM sleep, we are paralyzed. And so
paralyzed, meaning in the traditional sense where you can't move.
Yeah. And so the idea has always been that we're paralyzed during REM sleep more than any other sleep stage because we don't want to act out our dreams. So people that have REM sleep behavior disorder might move during their dreams, and they can be quite violent and hit and thrash and so forth. So it's good that we're paralyzed during our REM sleep. But the problem is, in your case, or anybody that's experienced sleep paralysis, is you begin to wake up. And while your brain might be conscious and you often can see in the room around you, your body is still paralyzed. You often can't, you have this feeling of, I want to scream, but I can't. And you often have these images of something bad happen, like you described. There's some that have images of something sitting on their chest. It's been actually associated with people who have had paranormal experiences. And that
I haven't had.
That's probably because of has a physiological basis. So if you're sleeping and your respiration is changing as you try to go from REM to wake, that does give this sensation of something pressing on your chest. And then the brain is filling in the gaps with it being something scary. Or some people will say something's across the room or
Right,
a
right.
door is open that wasn't supposed to be open. And those are all just the brain still hallucinating a little bit like it was in REM and trying to make sense in the world because you're also trying to wake up. And all that time you have no ability to move.
And do we know how long those episodes last? You wake up in the morning and if you're able to recall that happening, it feels like it went on for 10, 15, 20 minutes, maybe longer in some instances. But could this be in our minds seconds? Like it just happens that quickly? And like a standard dream, do dreams go on? Obviously not real time because some of these things are traveling through space or whatever. But do they happen in seconds or do they happen over minutes and longer periods?
For sleep paralysis, I think it is a bit of this time warp. So it seems that while it feels like a very long experience, it typically, from what we can tell, is a very short experience.
Okay.
So usually it's like a minute, maybe 2 minutes or so. It depends upon, like, is there other people around you, things that might help you arouse further. But whether your dreams, how long your dreams last, those probably do last quite long. The only question is it the single storyline taking that entire time? Or what's more likely is you're going in and out of many different dreams. And it's just which one did you wake up from or which one was most recent that we tend to recall.
So are dreams helpful to us? I mean, do they have any benefit or is it just an active mind in the middle of the night?
Yeah, there's a lot of great stories of artists and authors and singer-songwriters who have gotten ideas from their dreams. And so they can be really fantastic, particularly for artists who get great ideas. People have solved various different problems. So scientists have really benefited from dreams. So the idea of the benzene ring, which is big in chemistry, or the invention of the sewing machine, trying to solve some of these really confusing problems have been associated with dreams. We also have books that were ideas that came out of dreams, songs that were ideas that came out of dreams. So I think we have a lot of good uses for dreams that make me even wish I could remember dreams more often.
Now, you've probably heard from colleagues as much as I have. I know people who keep a notebook and a pen by the side of the bed. So it might be work related. It might be creative related. But in the middle of the night, they'll roll over. Something will strike them. They'll roll over and quickly jot it down. So that way they remember it in the morning. So to your point, where some inventions or great creativity comes from sleeping.
Yeah. And in fact, that's one way to learn to recall your dreams is if I want to study dreams, what you do is you ask the person to just every morning try to recall your dream, try to recall your dream. And it turns out the more you make a practice of that, the more you're able to recall your dreams. And part of that is we need to remember to wake up and move that memory because the dream is a very short-lasting memory and we need to move it into short-term and long-term memory. And if we don't recall it right away, that's not going to happen. So if you have somebody that remembers, has that notebook beside their bed and every morning remembers, let me write down what's on my mind right away, over time you'll see they get more and more dream recall.
But what's really unless you're in the creative space or an inventor or whatever, but writing down the fact that, I got lost in a corn maze in one of my dreams, how beneficial is knowing what your dreams are?
You will never know until you're lost in a corn maze. I think that there are other things. Again, I think that some of dreams is a bit of a side effect of processing our memories. And so one example I give is when you go to sleep tonight, you might remember this interview with me. It just might be this normal memory replay, which seems just a little straightforward. But then you go file that memory away and your brain's like, what should I put that with? When else have I learned about sleep? And you're like, oh, that college class that I took and I learned about sleep. And so now you get these weird memories paired together. I'm suddenly showing up with people from that college class. And so that's where our brain might be putting two very seemingly unrelated things together is just by like taking this recent thing and trying to be like, where should we go? And so it fires up all this other stuff to say like, where should I put that one? And then that's a side effect of, okay, now I have weird things and I'm trying to make sense of it.
It sounds like our own built-in artificial intelligence. It's taking these two memories of things and then creating this storyline to connect everything.
I love the way you put that. That's a great way to put it. Yeah. Yeah.
That is so weird.
I agree, but it's very cool, right? And now we have the science and the techniques to begin to study these things in a more objective and empirical way.
We are up on our second commercial break. We'll be right back after this.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Welcome back, everyone. We are talking about dreaming, the importance of it, how your brain works, how it happens, whether you recall them or not. And sitting across from me today is Dr. Rebecca Spencer from the University of Massachusetts up in Amherst. Dr. Spencer, thank you for joining me. Do dreams change in both quality and quantity as you age? Like, do babies dream as much as a 85-year-old? Or do you not know?
It's a great question. So some of it we don't know enough about dreams in kids because we often let them sleep through the night. We don't ask them to recall their dreams as much, and they're not being awoken in the middle of the night as much. So they certainly get nightmares that are normal at that young age, but to actually get the dreams that we've been talking about, we don't know as much about their frequency and how much they're being recalled. But they certainly are dreaming. And then the dreams that we have as we get into older age, they do change. Often you will hear more and more dream recall. Some of that is associated with sleep disorders. So for instance, if you have insomnia, you're waking up more times during the night. And every time you wake up is an opportunity to potentially remember a dream. Okay. So the more often you're waking up with a sleep disorder, then you probably are going to recall your dreams more just simply for that reason. And then you also have sleep disorders like REM sleep behavior disorder. Now that's one where you have muscle tone during REM. And so you'll start seeing them moving a lot and acting out some very vivid, violent dreams. And so that's something to be aware of and certainly talk to a physician about.
Have the number of reported sleep disorders increased over the last, decade, 30, 40 years, or have they always been there? Just now we've labeled them so people are able to say, okay, yes, I do have, whatever sleep disorder.
I think that's both are true, but I have no doubt that they are actually increasing. And that's for two reasons. So insomnia is highly related to stress and anxiety, and the lives that we're living are very much promoting the insomnia rates going up. We also have high incidence of sleep apnea. That's the one where people have gasping in their breathing during the night, and it's often related to obesity. Not always, but the majority of people with sleep apnea have obesity, and we know our obesity rates are going up in the U.S. So there's reasons why the sleep disorder rates are certainly going up with time.
It's interesting because as we're having this conversation, it seems as if a lot of things are tied back to good health, general overall good health. If you're not healthy, you're overweight, you might have sleep apnea, you're not getting enough sleep, your dreams are playing a role in that. But I guess if we focus on our health in general, we'll sleep better, we'll have better dreams. Am I kind of bringing that all together?
Absolutely. And I call it a two-way street. So the sleep is going to help you maintain healthy body weight. Healthy body weight is also going to help you sleep better. And so same with mental health. We know that if you have stress and anxiety, it's going to disturb your sleep, but also disturbed sleep will continue to propagate that poor mental processing. So both are important, and trying to get a good, healthy balance on both sides of that equation is really important to our healthy lifestyle.
I've heard, again, maintaining a healthy lifestyle, knowing when to eat before you go to bed. But I have also heard that certain foods, like I've heard some people, my father was famous for this. If he had chocolate, like within an hour or two of bedtime, he would say he would have bad dreams. Does food have a role in in our dreaming?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's because of what's in that food. So, for instance, if it was dark chocolate and it had a lot of caffeine, there's a reason that it might be awakening you. And then when you're being awakened, you have more of those chances to recall something like that. We also have something like red wine, which is people are like, red wine helps me sleep. Well, it helps you fall asleep, but it fragments your sleep later on in the night. So that's the most common reason why some of those foods
You're
feel
killing
like
me.
they're.
I live on
I'm
dark chocolate and red
sorry.
wine.
But that's part of why we associate those with maybe negative dreams. I mean, unfortunately, on average, our dreams do tend to be negative. At least our remembered dreams tend to be negative, probably because they're the most memorable ones. And so I think just simply you're increasing the number of times you're awakening, and that is then why you're recalling more of those bad dreams.
You mentioned earlier about children having more frightening bad dreams. Children, I don't know. My kids grew up in a very loving, comfortable house. There was nothing frightening about their childhood. But I was the same way growing up. But we all have bad, like nightmares is the word I'm looking for. Is that caused by something?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not caused by the way they're being treated or anything like that. It's a natural.
Everybody has them.
Yeah, and kids get a lot of these parasomnias. So you might also hear them sleep talk, or they might sleepwalk.
And sleepwalking and sleep talking. Right.
And they tend to grow out of those things. I think it's just a symptom of brain development. Not everybody goes through it, but as your sleep is getting consolidated and the brain is changing, that's probably what drives some of this.
Is it sort of a fight or flight sort of mechanism that your body's teaching you?
Yeah, I mean, it could just be related to this activation in our emotion-related areas of the brain. Even that happens while we're sleeping, and so you could see those happening, nightmares and night terrors happening in the kids.
So, is sleep talking or sleepwalking good or bad?
I wouldn't say it's either. It's especially in the kids. It's just normal, and it's just important to keep them safe during those episodes. So might not be the kid to put in the top bunk. So giving them a safe place to be. But in general, those kids will grow out of it. There is a genetic factor to this. So if you're a family that has a history of sleepwalking, then you're more apt to do it. I always talk to our students about this, that it can come out when you're sleeping in a new place. So sometimes we'll have students who maybe had some sleep issues when they were young, and now they're living in a new place in college, and suddenly that sleepwalking or sleep eating starts coming out, and it can be really uncomfortable. So it's important for people to learn how they can manage it and how they can get support for it.
We've only got a few seconds left. Is it true if you die in your dreams, you really die in your bed?
No.
You heard it here, folks. No. Dr. Spencer, I can't thank you enough for joining me today to talk about dreaming. Good seeing you. Thank you.
Yeah, you as well.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.